Hello, Feuzion. My name is Alex Feuzion, host of Feuzion News. Today is March 31st, 2017, and we have a big show planned for you right now. Earlier today, I spoke with ESPN MLB reporter Tim Kurkjian, and we broke down this upcoming MLB season that, of course, starts this weekend. It's a busy weekend for sports fans. We had the Final Four for the college basketball NCAA championship this weekend. We also have for the MLB 2017 season, we have WrestleMania. It's going to be a sport. Here is that interview. And Fuse Nation, before we start the interview, I just want to say thank you for all the new subscribers. And to be a subscriber of Fuse Nation is, of course, free. Okay, just hit the subscribe button under this video to be a new subscriber of Feuzion News to get all the latest shows. And of course, next interviewing Shelmont High School Superintendent Dr. Palace to talk the school budget. What does she have to say about the 2017-2018 budget? Well, that's going to be a good interview. A lot good information will come out of that. But joining me earlier today is Tim Kurkjian. Here's that interview. Thanks for watching. I will see you next week. Joining me right now on the phone is Mr. Tim Kurkjian. He is an ESPN MLB reporter. So, Tim, we're going to right to it. Of course, I am located here in upstate New York, and the Yankees have had an outstanding spring training, a spring training that Yankee fans are probably very excited about for this upcoming season. And one news story that came out a few days ago was the possibility of Aaron Judge starting in AAA, and that is not the case anymore with Aaron Judge being the starter right fielder for the New York Yankees. Do you feel that Aaron Judge is not ready for this MLB season coming up yet, and do you think he should have started at AAA?
I would have started him in the big leagues, Alex, for this reason. This team is going to try to win the division, try to win a wild card, do all that. But they're really, truly building for next year and the year after, when they're going to be not just good, but they're going to be really, really good. And the best way is to develop all their young guys as quickly as possible. And to rush a guy to the big leagues is a big mistake. But you know, in Aaron Judge's case, he had a nice taste of it last year. He really struggled at times. But sometimes the only way to figure it out is to actually play it on the major league level. So is there a danger in doing this? Of course there is. But I think if they're going to be any good, and they're going to be long term, they might as well get these young guys in there as quickly as possible, throw them into the fire, and see what they can do. Maybe Aaron Judge finds it even quicker than we thought. And even if he labors, he's going to learn while struggling. So I think this is the right thing to do.
And the next major question that this Yankee team needs to answer is a starting rotation. You have Tanaka, Sabathia in that second spot, and then you have Pineda. And now they got the fourth and fifth starter rotation confirmed. Now, how do you feel about this Yankee starter rotation? I'm sure Brian Cashman wished it was just a little bit better, because if that starting rotation, we haven't really seen it in action too much because of the injuries that we have seen in the past few years with their rotation. But do you feel like this starting rotation could potentially lead this Yankee team making a wild card game, or even put them in contention with the division this year?
Well, I think they're going to be in contention all year, but I think their starting pitching is just a little bit short right now, and I think, here it is on March 31st, it's going to keep them from making the playoffs. That rotation is just not good enough for me. Tanaka had a very good year last year, but you're never quite sure if he can hold up for 32 starts. CC Sabathia had a tremendous September last year. Can he duplicate that and do something like that the whole year? That's a big question. And Michael Pineda is really frustrating in that he's so good sometimes, and yet he can be so erratic. So, but this is part of the Yankee plan. Instead of using success young kids to go out and trade for a starting pitcher or going to sign a free agent pitcher for an enormous amount of money, they said, we're going to keep all of our guys. We're going to hope this pitching works out for 2017. But the key is we're going to be building for 18 and 19 when, again, I think they're going to be really, really good.
Now, Tim, we are less than 48 hours until the MLB season begins. Are you excited for this season?
Well, Alex, I'm excited for every season. I can't wait to see, with all the stuff that I saw in spring training, how much of it actually comes true. And that's the beauty of baseball, is you see something, you believe it, and then a month later it's not true anymore. Or vice versa, you don't believe in something, and then you slap your forehead on June the 1st and say, like, how did that happen? Where did that come from? But I think, as always, there's some tremendous storylines going into this season. I think led by the Cubs. 108 years, they finally won. Can they repeat? Can the Indians, who now haven't won since 1948, can they, take the next step and win the World Series this year? There are a million great stories out there, including all the great young players that are on the way and already in the big league. So I'm always excited about spring training. I can't wait for the regular season to start.
Now, Tim, that brings me to my next question. This is from a fan of my show, Feuzion News, Dom Capito. He asks, he's a big Cubs fan, by the way, and he wants your thoughts on Theo Epstein being labeled the world's greatest leader.
Well, I think he might be the best general manager in baseball, and he's a future Hall of Famer, but even he laughed out loud to be the best leader ever. I mean, he finished ahead of the Pope. I'm not sure we should be doing that. But at the same time, Alex, he is a great leader in this respect. He has great empathy for people. He understands how people operate. He's incredibly smart. And he's so smart that he knows what he doesn't know. In other words, he can put a club together on paper, but if there's really a guy that he needs to see, and if he's not sure, and he can't tell somebody else, as well as someone else, whether that guy has great first step quickness or a great slider, that's where he sends his veteran people out to go tell me if that guy can play. And to me, that's what separates Theo Epstein. Is he's so smart, but when he realizes somebody else knows this better than I do, he's going to lean on that person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And Tim, of course, everyone here in upstate New York is really divided. We got Yankee fans, we have Mets fans, and we also have a little Boston fans. They found their way up from Cape Cod area, Massachusetts. So I have to ask you this question: do the Yankees fans have to worry about David Price, or when do you think David Price will be making his return to the Boston Red Sox?
Well, no one's quite sure of that, but my guess is he'll be back on May the 1st. He's got an elbow injury, and it wasn't nearly as serious as they thought. Great news.
Yes.
When you're dealing with a veteran pitcher who's thrown that many pitches in his career, and you have a depth starting pitching like they have, there is no reason to rush him back in the first week or two of April. Give him the entire month, make sure he's 100% healthy, and then bring him back when he's ready, because if he's ready and if he's healthy, the Red Sox have a team good enough to win the World Series, but they're going to need the best of David Price, and the only way to get that is to make sure he's healthy.
Now, another team that really has that depth starting rotation is, of course, across the town from the Yankees is the Mets. And the Mets have been dealing with a lot of starting rotation of starting pitchers' injuries over the past few seasons, like we have all seen. What can you expect from this Mets team this year? I know the major goal for them over the offseason was to get Cespedes back. They did that, and now their hope is that they can have that starter rotation stay healthy. Am I right with that?
Yes, you're absolutely right. If that rotation is healthy, then the Mets are good enough to make the playoffs, maybe good enough to win the division, and good enough to do something serious in October. But that's assuming Syndergaard and DeGrom and Harvey and Matt and Wheeler and Gesellman and Lugo are all good for them. If they're all good, they're all healthy, that has a chance to be a historically good rotation. What we saw last year, it's hard to keep that many guys healthy for the course of the season. I just think they're a little short offensively at a couple of places. They have some real question marks, of course, with David Wright, health of Lucas Duda. Can they keep him healthy and on the field? And given that, I think they need to pitch like crazy if they're going to make the playoffs. I think they're certainly capable of it, but it all comes down to health. And if they're healthy, they'll be in there in October.
Now, Tim, before we wrap up this Feuzion News interview, I know you have a very busy schedule, but this season, of course, joining you guys in the booth is former Yankees Mark Teixeira. How do you think that chemistry between you guys in the booth with Teixeira is going to be this season?
Well, I'm really looking forward to it. I've known I've known Mark for almost 20 years, and I think he's a really smart guy. I think he's an honest guy, and that's what we're looking for. We're looking for someone who's going to tell the truth best he can, and I think he's a polished guy, given where he's been and where he's come from, and I can't wait to work with him. But in the end, it's going to be up to Carl Ravitz, the host, and me, who sits right next to Mark Teixeira starting Saturday night, to pull out the best from him. Hopefully we won't have to. Hopefully it'll just come out naturally. But I'm really looking forward to working with him because he's such a good player for such a long time and played on a bunch of different teams and a bunch of different situations. So his depth of knowledge and hopefully his storytelling will really come across. I've seen him already. I think he's way ahead of the game, and I think he's going to be really, really good, and I can't wait to work with him.
Okay, 30 seconds left. One team on this MLB, in the MLB season that you think could potentially win the World Series for the Feuzion News and Fuse Nation fans. One team. Throw it out right there.
Well, I've got the Cubs playing the Indians in the World Series again, and with predictions, you're never quite sure. I just know I love what I saw from the Cubs this spring. Kyle Schwarber and the rest, that team has no hangover for last year, and I think they're hungry to show everyone that they can do that again.
Wow. Okay, Mr. Kurkjian, thank you again for coming on my show today, and I wish you the luck in the upcoming baseball season, and I hope to have you on again very soon.
Alex, thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, Fuse Nation, I just wrapped up that interview that was earlier today with Tim Kurkjian. We broke down the MLB season just like you heard. And like I said at the beginning of this interview, busy weekend for sports fans this weekend. You got the Final Four for the NCAA AA championship for men's basketball, college basketball. We got the first pitch, the first Yankee game of the year. The Mets is on Monday. And we also have WrestleMania. What a weekend, Fuse Nation. Also next week, Dr. Palace is on to talk the school budget. Oh boy, it's gonna be a big week of shows next week. Thank you for watching. Have a great weekend, everyone. Be kind to one another. I will see you next week, and be a subscriber of Feuzion News. Thanks for watching. See you next week.